Hello everyone, I'm Sebastian Y and this is Managerial Economics. In this video we are going to talk about budgets and the budget constraint. The budget constraint is used to describe the opportunities available to a consumer, that is, the bundles they are able to afford. Recall from the last video that we are working in a world where there are two goods, X and Y. The variable X is the amount of good X in a bundle, and the variable Y is the amount of good Y in a bundle. Px is the price of good X, and Py is the price of good Y. Finally, M is the total amount of income available to the consumer. The budget set is the set of all bundles that are affordable to the consumer. We define this as Px times X plus Py times Y is less than or equal to M. Since Px is the price of X and X is the total amount of X in a bundle, Px times X is the total amount spent on good X, and likewise Py times Y is the total amount spent on good Y. That is not able to exceed the total amount of income available to the consumer. A second definition is the budget line. The budget line is just the boundary of the budget set, and that consists of all the bundles where the consumer is spending exactly all their money. So instead of less than or equal to M, it's Px times X plus Py times Y equals M. For graphing purposes, you may find it helpful to solve the budget line for Y. It's not strictly necessary, but it can be helpful. We can do this by subtracting Pxx from both sides, which is going to leave us with Pyy equals M minus Pxx, and then dividing both sides by Py, which is going to give us M over Py minus Px over Py times X. This gives us a helpful interpretation because it shows us the slope of the budget line is the negative of the price ratio, Px divided by Py. The price ratio is also sometimes called the market rate of substitution, but I'm usually going to stick with price ratio. Just like we did with the demand functions from the last set of videos, the easiest way to graph the budget line is by figuring out the intercept. The X-intercept of the budget line represents the bundle where the consumer is spending all their money on X. If the consumer is spending all their money on X, they're spending nothing on Y. So we have Pxx plus Py times 0 equals M. Multiplying by 0 just drops this out. Divide both sides by Px to get X equals M over Px. This should make sense. If we have a total income of M, we're only buying X, so the total amount of X we're able to buy is M divided by the price of X. We could do the same thing with Y by plugging 0 in for X, and that will give us Y equals M over Py, which we also saw right here when we solved for Y. Let's do an example. Suppose that Px is 4, Py is 5, and M is 60. To graph this, we'll sketch an axis, label with X and Y. The Y-intercept is going to be 60 over 5, which is 12, and the X-intercept is going to be 60 over 4, which is 15. To graph this, I'm going to mark out 12, and I'm going to mark out 15, and then I'm going to connect those up with a line. This red line that I've just drawn, that's our budget line. Note the equation of our budget line is going to be Pxx, so that's going to be 4x, plus Pyy, so 5y equals M, which is 60. Our budget set is going to look very similar, but it's going to have less than or equal to 60. The budget set on the graph is going to be this triangle inside of the budget line. Let's talk about the two ways the budget set can change. Since the budget set is defined by the prices of goods and income, any change in those things is going to change the budget set. For example, suppose that income changes from 60 to 80. Our new budget line is going to be 4x plus 5y equals 80 instead of 60. Now how will this affect our budget set? We can draw the new budget line by getting the new intercepts. So the y-intercept will be 80 over 5, which is 16. X-Intercept will be 80 over 4, which is 20. I'll mark that out here, 20 and 16. Draw that in. What happens to the consumer's opportunities is that we now have all of the same bundles available to us from before, but now we have this additional area of bundles that are now affordable. Note that the price ratio didn't change, so there's no change to the slope of the budget line. We simply have an outward parallel shift of the line. If income had gone down, then we would have had a parallel shift inward. Now let's talk about what would happen if one of the prices changed. Suppose that the price of X is still 4, but the price of Y is now 6 instead of 5, with our income also still at 60 from our original budget set. The X-intercept hasn't changed, that's still 15, but the Y-intercept has. The Y-intercept is now 60 over 6. If we wanted to spend all of our money on good Y, then the max we could afford is 10. I'll add that new point to our graph right here, and then draw in our new budget line. We have now lost some affordable bundles in this green slice right here. All of these bundles used to be affordable to us, but now they're not. When one of the prices changes, we have a pivot of the budget line. Here we had an increase in a price, so that pivoted the budget line inwards. If we had a price decrease, that would pivot the budget line outward, and then we would gain some new bundles. This covers everything that we need to know about budget sets. In the next video, we're going to put the consumer's preferences and utility function together with the budget set to figure out the consumer equilibrium.